And hello and welcome to Ohana Hobby Workshop. You're joined by myself, Mango Smasher, in another episode of Mango's Journey. So today we're going to dive in deep now with myself a little bit. So just to pre-warn, this might trigger people because we are talking about mental health and obviously my physical health. Um, so we've touched a bit on that in the previous episodes and some of it, we've done a little bit of mention of it. But this one's all about really just explaining it all a bit more and going into a bit more detail. So, um, as I said at the start, I do suffer with mental health conditions. Just to rattle a few of them off, like depression, anxiety, social anxiety, split personality, complex PTSD. They're just the really main ones. Well, no, not so much the main ones. They're the more sort of ones that affect my day to day, as well as gender dysmorphia and body dysmorphia. Um, so as you can tell there, just from the mental health, there is a lot more of bits and bobs with that sort of stuff as well. And then physical health, I have a lot of stomach conditions. I have mobility problems. And with stuff like that, it does affect me on a day to day basis. So when it comes to essentially hobbying, this is one of the things it does me. Gives me an escapism, we'll call it. Helps me be able to deal and cope with it all. And so as people, there is also like that stigma where um, essentially, oh yeah, if you're this sort of, if you're depressed and stuff like that, you're going to do like all that sort of stuff. I have got histories of that myself, so I have histories of self harm, ODing and stuff like that. I've attempted many times. I am in a better place now. Um, so this is what I also said about a trigger, because I know that this sort of topic can trigger people, and I want to, like with this series, go into a lot of detail with it, but also be very cautious of myself and obviously viewers. But yeah, so from with mental health aspects, I've had that most of my life, from when I was a child. Obviously, I won't go into detail about that, but in a nutshell, my childhood was not the best. Sort of thing. I've accepted it now and stuff like that. But obviously, I won't go into too much detail because that sort of stuff is very triggering for people. And over the years, it has slowly got worse. As I mentioned, I used to do essentially self harm in various sort of ways, ODs. Ended up in hospital a lot, on watches and God knows what else. The amount of medication I take is also a huge factor, because I do take an awful lot to keep my body functioning. So throughout my childhood, I had a lot of mental health conditions. I was in and out of counselling, like therapists, all that sort of stuff. But nothing really ever helped. And when I turned um, about 16, 17, unfortunately, was I was kicked out of the family home, stuff like that. So that affected the mental health as well. And all amongst all this sort of time, I was essentially doing drugs at the same time from the age of 9. Um, so I won't say what drugs they were, but I'm just going to say now I don't condone people doing it and stuff like that, and my view on it is a lot different now. Um, so I ended up very dependent on the drugs from not so much dependent at the start. It was more of an escapism, help me cope with stuff, obviously with the traumatic stuff that was going on. And then when I turned 16, 17, obviously I got kicked out of the family home. And from there, I just become extremely dependent on it. I then turned to alcoholism. So I started drinking very heavily. I ended up an alcoholic. So by the age of 18, I was a full-blown drug addict with alcoholism. So I was an alcoholic at the same time. Um, and that was my way of like escaping my mental health and stuff like that. when actually I was just feeding it more. And when I turned 18, I got rushed in the hospital. I had a heart attack, followed by 4 strokes. And with most people, when you get told that and you find out, and then you find out it's because of like drinking drugs, some people would stop. But because I was using it as a unsafe escapism, I was still doing a hobby at the time, but not as much. Because my addiction took over everything. It ruined a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships, and burned a lot of bridges. And that still didn't really sort of wake me up a little bit. So obviously as well, I'm not sure really how to put this bit, but obviously people know of addiction. Sometimes it does come with crime and stuff like that. I am going to state now that I done my time for that. I done my time for that 5 years ago now from this video. And also at the same time I was in the wrong crowd. I was being manipulated and stuff that I didn't really know, because as far as I was concerned, oh, they're helping me getting my addiction. It's all good. And that with my mental health on top, and then with all the physical stuff. So the physical stuff didn't really come into it that much until about 4 years ago. I had the odd one or two prior, but not much. So essentially, like keloid scarring, I had liver damage, and when obviously I went and paid my dues, I went into essentially not like a proper rehab, but a rehab program, with 12 steps, with Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. I also done the Cocaine Anonymous. I'm gonna say now, I do not preach here now or say looking for sympathy and stuff like that. This is just an episode. This series is just getting to learn about me, and basically I hope that it can, like when we go do these deep episodes like today with the mental health and diving into my past a bit to do with the addictions and stuff like that. I'm hoping that it helps people see that like people can change within some aspect. So I ended up doing 16 weeks of a program, 12-step program, and I felt a lot better. Like obviously, this current situation I was in at the time where I done it wasn't ideal. It wasn't a choice of mine. It was something that was taken away from me because of the situation, and I decided to do the 12 step. I'm not sure why. And through that, it was hard coming off of everything, especially with the mental health. I had several breakdowns. I was watched constantly. Again, unsafe behaviours. And I know, like, now after I'd done it all, like, that was the best thing that happened to me, because I didn't know, one, where my mental health was going to get me, or where my addiction was going to get me. So that was one of those things where it helped a lot, but at the same time, it shouldn't have gone to that. Then in the past 4 years, now I've been developing constant conditions. I now suffer with a lot of internal bleeding. Unfortunately, doctors can't do anything about it because they don't know what's causing it. Same with most of my conditions. There's a chance I'm going to be in a wheelchair because of my mobility now. With my legs, I would go into too much detail, but essentially, with every step I make, my legs are wear and tear at quite a high rate. I have I've had a few like relapses with the mental health and the drink, and making like knowing that, and then knowing when to ask for help is a big thing. especially like with people. I'm not sure if people would agree with this, because obviously this is an opinion. A lot of this will be opinion based on stuff with my life. Um, Asking for help is one of the hardest things to do, especially when it comes to an addiction, a problem, whether it's personal or family. Mental health is another one that it is extremely difficult. Um, and one of the things I find very hard asking for help for mental health because it's more of being ashamed and stuff like that. That also then feeds my mental health even more and paranoia and all of that sort of stuff. Um, so for me, it's a bit of a difficult one, like with mental health, because a day to day struggle is it is very down. Like people don't see it, um, because with all my conditions, I essentially use a fake mask, we'll call it, um, to help me get by each day, and I don't really show emotion, stuff like that. Um, so for me, myself personally, it's extremely difficult, and with how certain things are, obviously being on here on YouTube, but also being a presence on Twitch and Instagram and other social medias, I don't let people see the struggles I go through. It's very rarely I do. Um, Thankfully, I do have a lot of people around me, the community. But even then, it's as people know in mental health, it's difficult. Just to sort of like when you have like essentially we'll call it a void, um, where like your mental health is just there and it's just beating you and beating you. I've had multiple days now where I have not wanted to do anything. I've lost the motivation. I've just, and stuff like that, and like the slightest thing that goes wrong, it could be from I've run out of paint. But with everything with my mental health, I make it out to be a big mountain that's impossible to sort out, and like I'm slowly getting better with my mental health and stuff. It takes a lot of time. It's a long battle, um, and like I've done courses and stuff like that to help me, and now it's sort of like I'm sort of soloing this, sort of thing is in the sense of no professional help at the minute, um, just because I personally don't want to do that anymore because I've done so many years of it, and it's one thing why I like doing what I do, because even on my bad days, I struggle quite a bit. Even on good days, I struggle, and where and like with how I live and stuff like that, it's also another a big thing. Like it takes me a lot of motivation to get stuff sorted, but because of all my health and that, things take incredibly longer to do. As you can tell by this room, I'm slowly getting it sorted, but it's because of my health, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not trying to make people feel bad for me. And this is something that is a new series coming, where like every week there'll be something new coming on. Will be different surroundings hopefully soon. Where I just do like where we go to like the hobby shops and stuff like that, and I do a few bits of recording, and bits like that. But this sort of stuff helps with my mental health. It helps me sort of keep on the straight and narrow. Just talking with people. Like one of the other things as well, I've noticed like when if I'm on Twitch, and chat's quiet, I know that affects me quite a lot. So I tend to just blare out music, on myself with myself. So like with music wise, I find for myself that it like the type of music I listen to just in some sense depending on what it is depends on what mood it helps me with. So if I know I'm really struggling, I'm hitting that wall, I'm hitting the mental health problems where I start dipping, I know that I need to play a certain playlist, and that helps me get through the day. And especially with like anxiety and stuff like that, you wouldn't believe it is from obviously the videos these videos and also live streaming. But I suffer with very bad anxiety, social anxiety, and music for me helps me get through that. So like I can't walk through. I struggle get leaving my place as it is because of that. So I get panic attacks, and I always have to have music going to cancel out any of the noise and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is just a video just going into a bit about my mental health and a bit of like some of the struggles I go through and stuff like that. And I'm not doing this video for people to essentially get sympathy for myself or anything like that. Like it's nothing to do with that or getting just that sympathy. I'm not looking for it. I'm doing I'm doing essentially a log of my journey with everything, and then essentially like this, it's just going to keep going up and up and up. And I want to continue the series, so we're going to see how it goes by episode 10. So this will be episode 3. But yeah, so as I said at the start, this is a trigger warning for some people because I have mentioned on a few topics, addiction, self harm, and stuff like that, and mental health. But hopefully, yeah. But yeah, if anyone needs anything, I say always to everyone, drop a comment. I will try and get back to you. All the links to social medias will be down there. So if you want to reach out, I'm more than welcome to help as best as I can because I know what it's like being in those places. And it's not a nice thing when you get to that bottom of that hole, we'll call it, and you feel like you're alone, and you think the only easy way out is drink or something like that, and it's not. Like just reaching out, I know it's a big step, I know it's a massive thing, but reaching out to someone and saying, I need help is the hardest thing you'll ever do. But at the same time, it is also the easiest thing because people will help the best they can. But that is it for this episode. So obviously as well, trigger warnings and stuff like that because we touched on sensitive subjects. I know I've mentioned that a couple of times now. But yeah, so hopefully we will see you all guys on the next episode of Mango's Journey with myself, Mango Smasher. All links to the description for social medias and everything will be down there. So we will see you on another episode coming soon.